Welcome to the very first episode of the Sidetracked Sport Podcast with me, Jasmine. I am so excited to be starting this podcast. For this first episode, it is just me, myself, and I, but I'm going to be talking about a topic that I am so passionate about that I even wrote my undergraduate dissertation on it. And that topic is the interaction between femininity and sport, or more so how they historically haven't interacted, I guess. Whether you're an elite sportswoman competing all the way up at the Olympics, or someone who just likes to exercise for fun by going to the gym or maybe going on a run, the concept of femininity can sometimes be a barrier to success or even a barrier to just enjoyment. And so I'm going to be delving right into how femininity can impact women participating in sport, whether that be from the fear of looking too muscular and too manly, the social pressures surrounding makeup, or even the sports that we choose to participate in. But before we go into all of that, what does femininity even mean? It's a really good question. I mean, how do you even define femininity? I'm going to try. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines femininity as the fact or quality of having characteristics that are traditionally thought to be typical or suitable for a woman. And they gave the example of having long hair. I don't know about any of you, but that just feels a bit problematic to me. I don't think I really like that definition. I don't know what it is about it, but it just doesn't seem like it actually says anything. It's a lot of words without a lot of meaning. But femininity is hard to define because it means something different to everyone. And there are lots of videos on social media like TikTok and Instagram that promote what they believe to be the idea of femininity, and there's tutorials labeled things like how to be more feminine, how to be your best feminine woman self, and it's really weird videos, and a lot of them I think are somewhat toxic or problematic, and because a lot of the things that are being promoted are things like making sure you've always got your hair done and wearing a little bit of makeup, or not raising your voice, or even some of them promote like your facial features, so like things like having a bigger eyes or maybe an upturned nose, and it's like you can't even control these things. How can that be what the idea of femininity is? It just seems ridiculous. But a definition I think I prefer, I found on the Merriam-Webster website, and that website defines femininity as the quality or nature of the female sex, and I think I prefer that. It's a bit more straight to the point. But again, like I said, femininity is so hard to define, and I might have a different idea of femininity to someone else, and so I can't really give one definition that suits everyone. I do remember as I was growing up, I was always the sporty person in my class. I was always known as the sporty one. I always did lots of different sports. I did swimming, gymnastics, dance, athletics, kickboxing. I tried football for a little bit at an after-school club, but that didn't last for very long. But I was always up for doing any sport in PE classes. I loved PE. I was that kid that could not wait for PE to start while all of the rest of my friends were just wanting to be inside in the warm. But I also remember that sporty women at the time were often labelled butch or tomboys. And I think I kind of struggled with the idea of that because I really did love sport, but I also loved typical girly things like playing with makeup or wearing dresses, and of course a special shout out to High School Musical. I mean, who wasn't a fan of High School Musical? But those are all things that I think were pretty stereotypical for young girls, and I loved sport, but I also loved the stereotypical things, and so I didn't really see myself as a tomboy or a girly girl. I didn't really know where I fit in that. And I mean, it might all be down to the era I grew up in, because we were seeing the start of the rise of women's sport, but it wasn't normalised yet. Like, it wasn't normal yet to see women doing sport, I don't think. And Luckily, the ideas of femininity and sport clashing didn't really stop me participating in sport. But as I got older, and a lot less of my school friends enjoyed PE. And again, that could be for such a wide variety of reasons. But I think it's interesting to consider whether the ideas of femininity and sport clashing, whether that played a part in it at all. And sport was still seen as a more boys or man thing to do. And so my friends at school that were girls, they didn't have an interest in PE. I don't know, it could have been for other reasons, but I think it's interesting to consider that. I even remember actually later in my school years feeling like I almost couldn't be too girly because I was the sporty one. I remember I would wear trousers to school most days, but then like if I wore a skirt, my friends would be like, "Oh my god, you have a skirt?" I'm like, yeah, I have a skirt. I don't know if that was because I was sporty or just because I wore trousers because they were more convenient. I don't know. But I think it's just interesting to look at and think back on your own experience of doing sport or exercising, maybe when you were younger or maybe more recently. But do you remember feeling like you couldn't be too girly at the same time if you were really sporty, or maybe that you didn't want to do sport because you were socialized to believe that it was a man's thing or a boy's thing to do? I think it's interesting to look back and think on our experiences and consider whether that's been at play in our own lives. And of course, things have changed and continue to change really quickly now in society, which is absolutely amazing. It's so much more acceptable now for women to be doing sport, whether that be as a young girl, as an adult. It is so much more normalised and accepted, and that is so amazing. And we have so many sportswomen who choose to be more typically feminine and some that choose not to. And neither one are any more or less feminine than the other. And I think at the Olympics this summer, it was so visible to see the choices that women have and how they want to present themselves. And I think it's so empowering for young people watching. For example, we have people like Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, who's a sprinter, Chase Jackson, who's a shot putter, and Sunny Lee, who does gymnastics. They all wear makeup, or they have their hair done, they have their nails done. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is an icon for her looks on the track. She always has a new wig on that's bright and colourful. She's always got her makeup, she's always got her nails. Chase Jackson, she has the most intricate makeup designs when she competes. Like, I think one time she sort of had almost like a butterfly look, not face paint, but it was really gorgeous how she just uses her makeup to, I guess, make herself feel more confident and powerful. And then Sunny Lee, I don't know how she does her routines with her nails, but she makes it work and she looks good doing it. And she's always got a perfect face of makeup on. It's how these women feel the most powerful and the most strong. And I think it's so empowering that they have the ability to do this. They can embrace their sporty side, and they can embrace the side that likes makeup and likes hair and likes nails, and they can combine the two of them. And I think track and field, or athletics especially, prominently displays this. It's so normalised for women in track and field to wear a full beat face of makeup, or to have their nails done and have their hair done, and even wear cute accessories. Like, we saw quite a lot of athletes in the Olympics with accessories on, whether that be jewellery or even like a cute little hair bow, because that's quite popular at the moment. But I feel like you don't really get that in other sports, either because it's like a contact sport, so just to be a danger, or whether it's not so normal. And I don't know, I think that's one of the things I love about track and field. And we have the Queen, Flojo, Florence Griffith Joyner, to thank for all of that, I think, because she turned the track into her own runway all the way back in the 80s. And for those of you that don't know, she does still hold the women's 100 and 200 metre world records. So not only was she on fire on the track, literally, she was setting the standards in fashion in track and field. But I think in this Olympics this summer, we definitely saw a new icon take the lead on embracing what she thinks is her femininity whilst competing on the toughest stage in, also, may I say, a pretty hands-on sport. And if you found your way onto Olympic Village TikTok during the games, you probably can guess who it is that I am talking about. It is the one, the only, Iona Mayer, and she is an American rugby player who was part of the team that won bronze at the Olympics, and her Instagram bio reads, #BeastBeautyBrains and probably wearing lipstick. And I think that's just so iconic. She is, obviously, as a rugby player, she's quite tall, she's quite strong, she's quite muscly, but she also loves to wear lipstick. It's her look. Like, she'll often wear a bright red lipstick, and she says there's a certain brand that she likes to wear but hasn't disclosed because, no free promo. I love that she embraces the lipstick whilst tackling someone. Like, why can't she be a girly girl who likes rugby? Who says she can't do that? And when I say that she took the Olympics by storm, I don't think anyone can comprehend how viral she went unless you were seeing her when she was viral. So she's a rugby sevens player, and she now has 3.9 million followers on Instagram at the point of recording, which is actually more than World Rugby have. Just think about that for a second. Just one rugby player has more followers than the governing body for rugby has. That's insane. That's absolutely crazy. And I think that shows that people that aren't rugby fans are following her, and she's introducing them to a new sport, which is absolutely a great way to use her platform. And she's even now gone on Dancing with the Stars, which is Strictly Come Dancing, but in America, and she's absolutely smashing it. But not only has she gone viral for her TikToks, where she referred to the Olympic Village as the Olympic Villa. As a Love Island fan, I'm all for that. But she openly talks about femininity and her struggles and battles and what she goes through with femininity as a sportswoman. And one of the favourite things I think I've ever heard her say is in a CBS interview where she said, "It doesn't take away from your athletic ability if you wear makeup. If you want to put on a full face of makeup and go tackle people, then good on you. I feel like I can be a beast and play this very physical, aggressive sport while also keeping my femininity as I do it." And I think that interview, that quote, is just the epitome of what I'm talking about in this episode. You can be typically feminine and you can go and tackle someone. Who says you can't do that? And if that's how you feel strong and empowered, then good on you. If you don't want to do that as well, then you don't even have to. It's this idea that women have a choice in how they want to express their femininity and what femininity means to them. Iona Mayer is also really open on her TikTok and her Instagram about the struggles that she faces as well. And here is a clip that she posted to her TikTok where she really opens up.
I'm going to be very real here for a second. As you can probably tell, I've been crying a little bit. I always get these comments, but recently it kind of ramped up. I get comments being called a man and being called masculine and asking if I'm on steroids. There will always be negative people out there, and they put women in a box, and they think of women should be fragile and petite and quiet and meek, but that's not the case. Women can be strong, and they can have broad shoulders, and they can take up space, and they can be big. I think I'm getting emotional because I feel very passionate about this. Don't let anybody try to define or dictate how you feel about yourself. You get to decide that. I feel feminine, so I am feminine, and I believe that. I want you all to know that even me, probably one of the most confident people around, has problems sometimes, but I'm not gonna let insecure, sad people online dictate who I am, because I know, and they're living a very sad life, and I feel bad for them. Keep shining, keep being you, and remember, your body is perfect. Big, small, tall, short, whatever body you're in, that's the body of a woman.
So yeah, that there just, I found that quite emotional the first time I watched it actually, because she hits it right on the head. The body you are in is perfect. You have the body of a woman no matter what sport you do or don't do. If you don't do sport at all, you've got the body of a woman, and femininity is what you want it to be. And I think her opening up like that on a platform with so many young people on it is only going to enhance the conversations and further the conversations that we have with our friends, with our mums, daughters, co-workers, whoever, about femininity and being feminine while you do sport, whatever that means to you. And I think even the idea of being muscly makes you masculine is such a common misconception and quite a common fear, I think, for women who want to be fit and active and want to go to the gym and maybe want to build a bit of muscle, but it's a big fear that you'll become really muscly and really hench and look really manly, and that's just not the case. You can be muscly and strong and still be feminine. You're still a woman at the end of the day, and it's such a damaging thought, and quite a lot of other athletes have spoken out about that before, and even friends I've spoken to have said about it as well. But one athlete who has spoken about it is Katrina Johnson-Thompson, who is the world heptathlon champion. And she spoke about this in an interview with British Vogue and in her upcoming book as well. And I think, to me, when I saw that, it was quite shocking, because I really look up to KJT as an athlete. I absolutely love her. And so for her to open up about struggles with feeling too muscular, it felt sort of, I couldn't believe that someone of her ability could ever feel like that. And I think it was a bit of a reality check that at the end of the day, these elite athletes are still human and they still have the same struggles and insecurities that maybe we do, who just enjoy sport for fun. But I do love that women are getting the platform now to even be able to talk about these and talk about how femininity may have impacted their life and their careers. And it's a conversation that needs to be had over and over and over to show the current athletes and the up and coming young ones as well that they can embrace who they are, no matter who that is. And I believe it's so unbelievably empowering for young people to see sportswomen who are muscly but also maybe like to wear makeup, or they like to dress up and wear a cute dress. And you know, it's reinforcing the message. You don't have to be girly or sporty. You can be both. And I think it's an important message to think about when we're doing sport or talking about sport and sports people. And a lot of the time, muscly sportswomen are dubbed as manly. And I think one of the most famous examples is Serena Williams. And I think her race also comes into play with there. But the fact that she's a really strong woman and has really defined muscles, which is extremely impressive, a lot of people call her manly for that. And it's like, well, no, she's not manly. She's a woman. Why would she be manly just because she's muscular? She's an elite sports person. Of course she's going to be muscular. It's a shame that sometimes people's achievements as sports people are sort of taken away or maybe minimalized because of how muscular they are, and they're attacked for it rather than celebrated. And it's important to have these discussions so that it changes going forward and people aren't victimized and told that they shouldn't be muscular when their job is to be strong. I mean, even if you just want to go to the gym to stay fit, or you want to do exercise to stay fit, if you have a bit of muscle, that's pretty cool. I think it's actually kind of, people underestimate how hard it is to become that muscular. I think the misconception is that you'll go to the gym, work out for a few months, and suddenly you're really muscly and bulky, when it's not that easy to gain that much muscle. Just talking about these fears and sort of actually rationalizing them, like how realistically, if I go to the gym and lift weights for a few months, I'm not going to walk out looking like a bodybuilder, am I? And so just talking about these ideas makes it a lot better for not only ourselves, but the generations coming up and through. And it makes it more normal for us to be sportswomen, do what we want to do, and embrace ourselves whilst doing that. Just to end this podcast now, I want to emphasize that femininity is about having choice. It's about having the choice of whether you want to wear makeup or not, whether you want to do your nails, whether you want to have your hair looking nice, or you just want it out the way. And I think being a powerful woman who chooses not to conform to these stereotypical aspects of femininity is just as empowering as choosing to at the same time. Thank you so much for listening to the very first episode of the Sidetracked Sport podcast. I'll be back very soon with another episode dissecting the landscape around sport in our society. Thank you for getting sidetracked with me. Toodles!